back up. They're going that way. They're going that way, guys. You guys gotta back up.
Backup way Terence Crawford and Dant Davis were the most unexpected people to run into themselves yesterday after what had happened on the social media platform X, formerly Twitter, between the both of them yesterday. Well, let's just say it was meant to happen, and they were meant to do way more than the verbal jabs that social media allowed them to do yesterday. The chaos began when Terence Crawford was on his way back from the Ring Magazine Awards in London, and Dant Davis, having been away from camp recently, had a meeting outside of America as he plans to resume training camp on his return. Fate brought the both of them across each other, and it was just the perfect avenue to let chaos thrive. Devon "Tank" Davis was the first one to cite Crawford, and rather than mind his business, he went after the former undisputed world welterweight champion. He met with Crawford and questioned what the online feud was all about. Crawford, who didn't take him seriously, said a few words and just walked away. Then Gervonta Davis continued yelling until Terence Crawford's team members pulled away from the pound-for-pound king. Applause. And from the look of things, it's about to get real between Crawford and Gervonta Davis. While we expect a Crawford vs Canelo fight, we should also be open to the prospect of Terence Crawford and Devon Davis doing more together. It could be a street fight, a boxing fight, or even more, but the fight isn't meant to end just that way. Essentially, the fight was an offshoot of what happened at the Ring Magazine Awards in London on Saturday, as John Davis was one of the not music absentees. The entire boxing royalty marked their presence at the London Ring Awards. However, a few were noticeably absent, perhaps the most prominent being Devon Davis. The Ring Magazine Awards ceremony brought together the best boxers of today in London this weekend, with the exception of Devon Davis, who, despite announcing his retirement for 2025, his unbeaten record after 30 fights with 28 knockouts places him in the elite of boxing. Tank was probably not invited because he is not on good terms with Riyadh Season and Sheikh Turki Alec, who also owns the Ring Magazine. It seems the lightweight champion wasn't too pleased about it either, feeling as though he had been left out of the invites. Davis made several posts on his X account, which he later deleted, but Terence Crawford took the opportunity to mock him, which generated a dispute on social networks that has continued until Tuesday. His displeasure quickly followed a series of deleted posts where he slammed both the organizers and the attendees. Tank Davis might not be on the most favorable terms with the Riyadh Season team. While the reasons behind his absence from the Ring Awards remain uncertain, he did receive a response, one that came from Terence Crawford. Music. The two champions have been at loggerheads for some time, trading barbs and taunts in the past. Reports suggest that Crawford, who recently met with Turki Alec, may be inching closer to an epic showdown with Canelo Alvarez later this year. Taking a jive at Devon Davis, Terence Crawford laughed loudly. "I see somebody mad they weren't invited to the Ring Magazine gala. I remember being left out. That's why when they let me in, I crashed the party." Bud Crawford posted, along with some mocking emojis in response to the deleted posts from Gervonta Davis, but some were rescued by users. Well, to understand why Crawford responded with a taunt, we need to look back at the post Devon Davis, music, shared. Though the posts appear to have been deleted, a few publications managed to update them in their reports. Why they didn't invite everybody, Davis asked in his post, adding, "But they invited people they deal with. Get out of here, stop bum eating." Then, seemingly pointing at Eddie Hearn, he added, "Look at that little rat thinking he came up on something. Now tell them all to fight each other since they have a heavy roster." He continued. Gant also had words for Turki Alec, first asking them to take the opportunity to fight among all the guests, and then criticizing the Sheikh for not knowing anything about music boxing. His words seem to allude to the Riyadh Season head. They want to act like this guy is good for boxing when he is not good at stuff. If so, why is he not building the people where he is from? This guy knows nothing about boxing at all, and this is who they're turning to. They want to act like this guy is good for boxing when he's not good at anything. If why isn't he training people from where he's from? This guy doesn't know anything about boxing, and that's who they're turning to. Tank Davis posted in another of the messages deleted from his X music account. Then he ranted about how, unlike him, many fighters are willing to leave American shores to make their money, but in the end all they get is a barely countable crowd attending their fights. The dispute between Davis and Crawford continued until Tuesday, apparently because Gervonta bragged to Terence that he had more money. Davis seemingly didn't take too kindly to Crawford's response, and in more since deleted posts called out Bud over how much money he, music, Makes I still make more than you y'all think he's chasing greatness he's not that's what he has to do to make decent money the first thing a rich fool tells another rich fool is that he has more money than you I bet I have more investments than you and I don't owe $1 in taxes you can't buy anything that I can't buy and want sir and that's a fact let's see who has the longest lasting money smart boy Bud Crawford wrote to Tank Davis who responded not to complain accompanied by some insults fans may find this interesting last year during the press conference for the Lamont Roach fight he shocked everyone by announcing that he would retire from boxing by the end of music 2025 If that's the case many followers might wonder why he should care about such formalities like not receiving an invitation nevertheless it may not be the first time Terence Crawford took a dig at the Baltimore native shortly after he defeated Errol Spence Jr. and became an undisputed champion the Nebraska southpaw heard about Gervonta Davis claiming he could beat him at 147 pounds. Speaking on the Breakfast Club an unperturbed Crawford acknowledged Davis's prowess in the ring nonetheless, suggesting that there are levels in boxing he played the banter down and if he comes up to 147 thinking he's just going to knock Terence Crawford out he's got another thing coming he stated perhaps a clash between the two American boxing icons may never happen for Terence Crawford though there's only one fight ahead of him the one against Canelo Alvarez gave a little prediction on the fight talked about Errol has a metal shield and you have a glass shield talk about the punch resistance what do you think of Tank's assessment man Terence Crawford and Gervonta Davis are currently 3 divisions apart but have competed in the same classes in the past Crawford kicked off his campaign at lightweight Tank Davis is currently a world champion he became undisputed at super lightweight where Tank Davis has also won a belt Crawford has since continued to move up clearing out the welterweight division. Before making his debut at 154 pounds last year Davis remains back down at 35 holding the World Boxing Association world title and knocking out all comers the big hitter from Baltimore has said he would knock Crawford out in the past perhaps tongue-in-cheek but the bigger man has warned him not to punch above his weight I mean you came up from 35 right he ain't fighting no real guys at 47 see okay what about everyone's talking about Errol fight in the whilst the fight is highly unlikely to ever take place some believe it wouldn't be a foregone conclusion in an interview with Real Life Productions multi-division world champion Roy Jones Jr. said that's a good damn fight clearly believing it would be competitive if the pair met just underneath the welterweight limit and giving Tank a good chance due to one reason I don't see anybody around that's going to beat Bud unless it's somebody way bigger than him but don't sleep on the fact that if he and Tank fought at about 145 that's a good damn fight you understand me B Crawford on the other hand I don't see nobody around that's going to beat B unless somebody way bigger than him but don't sleep on the fact there cause they both have very high IQs and Tank is very explosive that's the one thing that Tank got that Errol Spence didn't have in boxing an explosive fighter can go a lot of places I was only able to cover the weights that I covered because I was so explosiveness keeps people in check the two Americans will continue their campaign separately with Crawford chasing a fight against super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez that would require a 14 pounds jump and Tank out in March against Lamont Roach Jr. before according to his latest press conference retiring at the end of the year meanwhile Tank fans can look forward to his upcoming clash with Lamont Roach Jr. which is scheduled to take place at the Barclays Center on March 1st if Tank fought at about 145 that's a good D. On fight you understand me fact that's a good damn fight you understand me cause they both have very high I and Tank is very explosive see that's the one thing Tank got there while Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez is the fight that looks set to be made Gervonta Davis has now inserted himself into the conversation Crawford and Canelo have reportedly agreed a deal for the mega fight to take place this year bringing together two of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport the fight is believed to have come together after the pair met separately with Saudi chief Turki Al-Sheikh in London over the weekend after a year of back-and-forth discussion over whether or not it will happen while most in boxing are excited at the prospect of seeing Crawford and Canelo square off it.